Good morning, everyone. Let me just flip on my mic here. All right, this is the Euro Trade. I'm your host, Marcus Dokadi. I'm a commodities trader, so I'm going to be focusing on some products that you may not see well represented elsewhere. All right, so I'm looking at what the gold is doing, and like somebody in my VIP group, gold is looking like a meme coin recently. And I'm going to be focusing on maybe on RBOB this morning, because that one looks a little bit more sane than gold. And Marie is in the chat. Good morning. Yes, I am in Belgrade. That's right. Where are you, Anne Marie? I know you're traveling too. All right, so whoever's here for the first time, if you just randomly stumbled across this stream, I've been trading for 18 years, and 12 years out of that, I've been trading for various prop firms, specializing in precious metals and energies markets. I traded crude oil for 12 years pretty heavily, and then I noticed that it didn't really, it kind of had a personality transplant about 2 years ago or so. And this is where I turned my attention to precious metals such as copper, gold, yes, gold, but also RBOB and heating oil, platinum on occasion. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Gold is just insane. So let's have a look at what happened. At the moment, I'm not interested in shorting gold, even though it's trying to tag average daily range high and is struggling a little bit around it. Just the sheer strength of this this trend is absolutely relentless. So if we look at the weekly chart, it's, I mean, what do we even call this, right? It's just super, super strong trend. Almost looks like some stock that went parabolic. So yeah, don't want to fight that. So the plan for gold continues to be pullbacks, and then maybe looking at VWAP or value area highs for a retest, and then a further continuation. Until that changes, and until they stop making like super crazy moves upside, I really don't want to fight that. And I am a mean reversion trader, so you know that's saying a lot. Having said that, I do not want to buy the top here because it is the ADR high. Are we going to end up in an outlier day or not? This is the decision point. So what I'm looking at here is for the price maybe to do a little fake out, and then on most days during this time of the day, it establishes a little range. And then once we get to closer to LME and closer to COMEX, we may get a chance for a more serious pullback that usually tends to happen post NY cut. So post NY cut is the time period where Forex option expiries go through. There's a ton of volume, and then there's a 90-minute period where I'm waiting for some sort of a reversal. Now, because of the strong trends, I will not be going into that, but I would like to see a nice pullback either to VWAP or to some sort of a value high. So let's see which one is the closest, and that's going to be a challenge. I mean, I suppose the closest one is COMEX. That is all the way down at 4,008.3. And also where the other side of the ADR is. Are we going to get that low? Might be a bit too much to ask. So as an alternative, I have a rough reference area around 40.37, which is where Globex VWAP is at the moment. But where that's going to be later in the day, I don't know, because it's a volatility measure that changes throughout the day depending on what's happening. But Globex VWAP is going to be my reference point here because it is the closest. Let's have a look at the options. For some stronger GEX levels maybe. Yeah, so we have GEX3 and GEX2 down at 40.30 and 40.25. And that puts us sort of about 60% through the previously established Asia range. I also use the Asia range for reference and just orientation, and it can be pretty useful on days when there's not that much movement, but we've had huge ranges on gold during Asia alone. Then we usually have a bit of a slowdown, and then LME steps in, then COMEX, and then it goes crazy again. So I don't really expect that to change. There's no reason for it to change. We didn't have NFP. We'll see whether NFP is going to happen this week or not. But for today, we do have the inventories report, right? So instead of looking at gold, why don't we focus on a bit of crude oil here? And again, I won't be trading crude oil directly, but I do use its levels for reference. And then I open a position in RBOB or heating oil, depends on which one looks better. Right now, I am running a mean reversion short in RBOB. If we look at the weekly chart, I always start by looking at bird's eye view. There's a pretty big rejection of a nearby area, and if you analyze how this is moving, it's all bearish engulfing, so some sort of a supply, then a test of that supply, continuation, and then another range. So I look at this as a potential bearish movement. So I would like to see it continue down, and it might be a little bit early for this, but maybe towards the end of the stream we can get some more committed movement. But for now, this is what we have. Let's have a look at the value areas from NYMEX, because NYMEX is the main session for this particular product. NYMEX is sitting with the value high at 189.85. So let's put a line there. Change that to purple. Why not? Give it a name. And then there is the value low, which is located at 188.62. It's close enough. Average ranges way outside of the current price action, so we have plenty of space both sides. ADR high sitting at 194.65. Should move my mouse. This is the trackpad. Anybody else find the trackpad on laptops really annoying? Or is it just me? I don't know. Okay, so all the way up there, ADR high. This is some old marker. And ADR low, kind of sitting halfway into the value area. I know, that's the average session range low. The average daily range low is 87.87. It's a nice number. And for anyone asking why am I on a combine, even though I have a live account, because Serbia is not in the approved countries. So while I'm here, I actually can't trade my live. All right. Next up, let's have a look at crude oil options chain, just to see what the end of day options were doing. There's a pretty significant gamma wall at 62.50. So we haven't really tagged that yet. And when London opened, they created a pretty strong candle with a lot of volume. That one ends at about 62.30. So we'll see how this position is reacting to it. But basically, I'm looking for a bit of a sell-off towards this value high, maybe even complete rotation through value for value acceptance. We do have the settlement from yesterday that is somewhere around 189.65. And what the energies like to do is if they are either above or below the settlement, they first go and tag settlement. So this is another reason why I'm in this. There was an attempted move below initial balance for the London session. Just bear in mind that this is an out of hours time of day for this product. So it might take a while for them to decide what they want to do. Right now, they're just trying to battle it out close to the Globex low. And until they decide, there's nothing for me to do. But I'm short biased. I'm always short biased on equities. Permanent bear. Permanent bear. Globex VWAP, we're just tagging it now on RBOB. Let's see what crude oil is doing as well, because I like to combine those two. Right, so crude oil is being a little bit stronger than RBOB. And crude oil also attempted to move down. Yeah, so they're just trying to decide where to go. So let's leave that. Let's just leave it to marinate a little bit and see if we can get a committed movement. So like I said, 62.30 is kind of my orientation point on crude oil. Actually, let's put them side by side because I think it's going to be more useful. And let me maybe change this layout to just two charts. So the candle that I'm talking about, this one had a decent amount of volume at the open. So we're waiting to see how the price will react to it. But so far, some extension of the initial balance lower. We're sitting above the value areas, not too far out, which is more of a mean reversion sign than a continuation sign in a market that has a strong downtrend traditionally. So obviously, if I was looking at the same thing on gold, it wouldn't be the same. Why? Because you have a strong uptrend. So when something opens outside of value, that means that there's still a lot of buyers there. So there's a contextual thing. Right, then when we go back, right, okay. Very interesting what I'm seeing in copper. Okay, let's have a look at copper while I'm waiting for more action here. Old markers. And obviously it was my mom's birthday, so we had a couple of drinks last night. My mom's drinks are strong, that's all I'm going to say. Right, copper. Copper looking a little less crazy than gold, but on the larger time frame, they are really trying to take out that weak structure that was created back in July, this huge drop. This was actually an intraday move, believe it or not. This was crazy. We were all looking at it and going, what? And initially somebody said that, oh, maybe it was a fat finger trade. I'm not sure that was the case, you know. To me, this kind of looks like somebody offloaded a whole bunch of positions, or one of the hedge funds got liquidated. So this doesn't really look like, oopsie. But right now we're still trying to take that out. So in the long term, I would like to see the price rising through this area up to 564. Maybe even higher, 565, but basically where the market point shift went lower, I call those conterminous lines, because the way this stands, it's a new supply, technical supply. And I don't like to look at support and resistance as like the complete extremes on such a large time frame. That's more of an intraday view, where you're looking for stop run and reverse plays all the time. But on very large time frames, because of the amount of trading activity that goes into these huge time frames, that gets very difficult to kind of fake out. Not impossible, obviously, but very difficult. So a better choice would be to look at the former equilibrium that brought a reversal. So I define those as very important points, inflection points, as Hogue likes to say. But yeah, once you have a huge drop, that creates weaker structure, and it's literally the cause for people to look for the market to go through that entire area and effectively go back to where it came from. So I'm still keeping that in mind as I'm looking for copper trades, but obviously intraday is a little bit different and harder, because sometimes if you get to the euro close and then there's no obvious trend and it's a smaller, slower auction, then you actually can fade copper. But if copper is in a trending market state, then I don't fight it, because it's absolutely relentless. It just makes up its mind with the initial balance extension and does not stop. Maybe you get a little wobble into the euro close, but then it's quickly just taken wherever they want to take it. So it's a very yes, Anne-Marie, to repair the structure. Tara says happy birthday to your mom. Thank you. She had a lovely day, I believe. So yeah. Rigoberto, I'm just starting with one trade, like just pipe down, man. And you're like, oh, I'm up 2K. Great. How old are your accounts? Because my live accounts live long, whereas most of you are just grasshoppering in and out of XFAs. So yeah. Yeah, it was mad tariff news as well. Yeah, the copper move was definitely caused by a mad tariff announcement where they just said, whoops, they're definitely starting with tariffs like today, and everyone was like, ah. So maybe that's why they liquidated. You know, you do have algorithms that scan the news. All right, let's have a look at copper from an intraday perspective. So first things first, find the overnight high. And the overnight low. It looks like this is it. Okay. And where is the average daily range? High. 1690 is where it's located today. $16.90 exhaustion, and then on the lower side we have 502.40. So that is the range that we're working with today. Now, if at any point these ranges get ignored like gold is doing, what tends to happen is that the gold outlier days are very prevalent. So you will see normal and normal variation day types when it comes to profile, and that's been happening nearly every single day. So it extends the initial bounce to one direction and then keeps going. Yesterday was a little bit of an outlier because it was a neutral day type, and I actually did a pretty beautiful trade. I grabbed 193 ticks after the euro close, and then I was watching VWAP, but I was also watching volume and tape, so I managed to swipe a 1,930, but with commissions it came up to 1,880. That was on my own account, because obviously while I'm here I can't do the live. Let me have a look at the chat for a second, and then we'll look at the options chain as well. Oh, I'm going to need my glasses for that, because that's a little bit too tiny for me. Right. So someone's saying, Deeyana, thank you for all that you do. I've taken your advice, fewer trades, quality over quantity, and I'm seeing slow but good progress. Yeah, so I mean, look, sizing up is the easiest thing to do. Once you have your approach down completely, that is when you know that you can get into a funded account, keep the funded account, which at that point becomes an asset, and then just work to get those payouts, right? Get the funny money. And then hopefully be in a live account someday as well. But without consistency and without sizing up, you know, we have Rigoberto with damn bruh. So while you guys are swinging plus 2K, minus 2K, minus 7K, plus 2K, I'm just slowly stacking positive days that are not massive compared to the size of the account, but they are consistent, and that's the difference. So, you know, but hey, you do you, mate. And notice that he's not answering how old are those accounts that he's trading as well. It's very revealing, you know. They will all come to, you know, to tell me how they've made 4K on the day. And then I'm like, well, how long have you been in the account? Oh, 1 day. And then by next week, that account just doesn't exist anymore. So, you know. Tom says, back on my regular sleep schedule, so haven't been able to watch live. 4:30 a.m. a bit rough. Yeah, at some point, again, you know that we're trying to work on changing the time so that we can be closer to LME. Yeah, Tom, yeah, 2 days old. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I've done so well. But then you hear nothing from them on the days when they really went full Muppet. And you're like, okay, so just, yeah, you do you, man. But my losses are at least controlled, so it's what it is. Right, let's have a look at the options chain. So we've already gone over the gamma wall. That would kind of tell me that maybe we're in the negative gamma environment, because it seems like GEX1 is acting as an accelerator on copper, and some of the other options levels have not given the reversal, but it's just a guess, so let me double check that. Just give me a moment. No mouse, so I'm all a bit slow. Okay. I'll tell you what, though, I'm happy that my mom got a pretty decent internet connection, because, you know, 2 years ago when I started streaming from Belgrade, whenever I'm in here, or whenever I'm over here, she had a horrible internet connection. So I used to have to like buy a separate connection, and then I was like, Mom, what are you doing? And she was like, yeah, well, it annoys me as well. And then yeah. Oh, okay, interesting. So it says it's a positive gamma. That's surprising to me. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it behaves. So I would expect copper to see up at 515 at some point today. That's the X2. And if it reverses from there, then we are in positive gamma. But for now, I would probably be looking at maybe a test of 509, which is where the gamma wall is. And we also have the London value high not too far away from it. It's at 508. And then the NYMEX value low. So all kind of like stacked around that area. So yeah, maybe a test of the overnight low. Maybe a test of the overnight low. And then maybe we go higher from there. I don't know whether we have any other releases that might push copper into a bit of an outlier day. I mean, we have the FOMC meeting minutes. That's not the rate decision though. And copper is most sensitive to inflation type releases. So CPI, PPI, don't have those. Do not have those. But yeah, let's have a look. Anne-Marie is saying so many copper stories on the wire. I was looking for a dip to buy, so thank you for that. Yeah, we're on the same page. There are supply worries with it. You know, if we're going to look at the macro, there are definite supply worries. But, you know, in an intraday time frame, we all have to really try to time our trades correctly because we don't have that much leeway. We're not like a hedge fund where, you know, they're position trading. I don't want to hold copper for months on end. I just want to swipe my intraday trade and, you know, run for the hills. And that requires a little bit more work, obviously. So, yeah. Trading Nickel says, I have 4 sources of internet. It's finally enough. God. Except when traveling, I have 3 connections. To 2 of those connections, hardline with Wi-Fi always on. Cost me literal thousands, not a combine. Yeah. So I have Starlink in England because we live out in the sticks now. We used to live in Battersea, which is like literally just next. You have Chelsea, then the Thames, and then just over the Thames, that's the that was the Battersea area. And obviously there's broadband there, but now we live practically in farmland. So I have a farm on one side of my property, you've seen the cows, and then another farm across the road. And they actually asked the farmer whether he wanted the internet to be on, and they were gonna dig through a part of his land, and he was like, no, that's not happening. So he wouldn't allow it. So now none of us have broadband. Not that there's many properties. I think I have one neighbor, and then there's the farmer all the way at the back, like literally like, I don't know, about a mile down the road. And then another farm half a mile that way. And then maybe one more property half a mile the other side. So it's like really quite remote. But there was some talk that next year there's another broadband service coming in and they're going to dig through the street. And obviously the farmer doesn't have a say in that because it's not his land. So I don't know, fingers crossed we might get it 2026. But yeah, Starlink works pretty well for me. We recently had a power cut, but that's nothing to do with Starlink. So now I'm actually looking at getting like a backup generator just to like power up my computer and Starlink. So it's a bit of a different thing. And yeah, so it is solid enough. It's really fast. Like I don't really see any difference between the actual broadband and Starlink. Like it's super, super fast. Initially, we had some issues with latency, but not like terrible. You know, it's not like, oh, unworkable. It was just like 33 milliseconds rather than, you know, 16 or something like that. So I didn't make any issue. I didn't have any issues with that. So yeah. And again, technically, you can pay for the, you know, the connection just to come to your house, but again, they would have to dig through farmland, and that ain't happening. Like the guy is just not happy. He's like, do not need that. No. So yeah, that's what I'm dealing with now. But yeah, for now, Starlink has been pretty solid. There was only one major outage, but that wasn't just us. It was, I think it was global. Just one day where Starlink just went down. And it was only like in the evening, and then it was back up like through the night. So they sorted it out pretty quickly. I have the business one because obviously I need quite a lot of bandwidth and data, right? Right, so we're still sitting below the initial balance on RBOB. Let's have a look. Not a lot of volume in any of this movement. Like literally none of it. So yeah, definitely looking to see how we're gonna play this out. What is this GEX level there? Just trying to see what crude oil, what GEX levels we have in crude oil so we can target those. But D needs some glasses. Okay, so it's what is that? GEX 4. And then we have the high volume level, which is effectively representing the gamma flip, down at 62. And because settlement is lower down, that's definitely game for today. Then further down we have GEX 3 at 61.50. That's possible if we go into a nice downtrend as well. And crude oil still sitting below the gamma wall. So all of that to me is a little bit bearish. So yeah, let's sit on the trade and wait. And Edie, I don't know how to pronounce your name, probably butchering that. Hey, first time on the stream, why are you trading gasoline, which is so less volatile? Mate, gasoline moves 600 ticks in a day. Do you think that's less volatile? Crude oil moves 97 to 100 ticks. So, which one would you trade? Just watch RBOB during NYMEX and you will see how crazy it gets. RBOB is kind of like the NASDAQ of the energies markets. And yes, it can have quiet periods. You know, we've just come out of summer and there's not too much happening during the summer. But if I have a look at the ranges, even just for this time period, we are currently sitting just under 400 ticks for the average range. And most of that is done in NYMEX, 315. And then the shortened London session that I calculate from the beginning of London to the beginning of NYMEX, 262. So even London is pretty lively on it. So I don't know what you're looking at there, mate. But I use data points and averages to figure out. Where did you get the idea that RBOB is slow? Crude oil is slow these days. Like when I started trading crude oil in 2014, we had like day after day, 350 ticks, 400, 300, 400, 250, 300. It was always super, super volatile. And it would be very much a double-sided product. So it would rise up and then completely make a turnaround and then drop like 300 ticks in literally like 10 minutes. And some days, like during COVID, it went absolutely nuts, as you know. Well, actually, maybe you don't. Don't know how long you've been trading, but basically crude oil was regularly having like 700 tick days. And RBOB was like 1,000, 2,000. And even crude oil on one of those days, it went to like 2,000 ticks. It fell actual 2,000 ticks. But then that changed 2 years ago on crude oil specifically, and the only thing that was moving out of the energies markets was RBOB, so gasoline futures. Obviously, I said at the beginning of the stream, this is a little bit early, but you know, we've got to have something to look at, right? So this is probably only going to start really making a move towards the end of the stream. because that's then coming up to pre-market for NYMEX. Everything starts livening up. And yeah, what do you think about gold? I think I don't want to think. Gold is crazy, man. So I'm looking for pullbacks, maybe to VWAP or any sort of stronger area intraday. Certainly not now, because right now we're starting to range on gold, and this happens probably about 70% of the days during this time of the day. Whoever is new here, we started these streams in July last year with the intention to trade DAX, to cover DAX, but then they had trouble implementing the data because it's like in euros, and then there was some issues with that, and then DAX never came. So yeah, and then I started looking at other things. Copper was okay during this time of the day for a while, but there's no doubt that we really start properly moving again for the metals when we get to LME, close to LME. LME opens at 11:40 London time. So that's, what's that, 5:40 a.m. Central and 6:40 Eastern. Okay, so pronunciation like Eddie. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Thank you for the information. Never looked at it, just looked so slow right now. Yeah, everything's gonna look slow compared to gold. Gold is ridiculous. Like gold right now is like, let's have a look at ranges for gold, right? So just to see how different that is. What's going on here? Oh yeah, there. Okay. So gold average daily range for the full 24 hours average, right? Average. So it means some days it actually overshoots that. 540 ticks. And out of that, the COMEX session takes 421 ticks on average. Whereas London usually has 287, but again, London is a shortened version from London Open down to, or up to NYMEX. So yeah, so it is a little bit more volatile, obviously, and it's fast. It's certainly fast, but I do like to trade gold once we get into COMEX rather than this time of the day. Asia moves it great, but I sleep, you know. I'm not going to be sacrificing sleep to stay up for Asia. That's never really been my market. The only time I traded Asia properly was when I was kind of touring around Asia. So I was a musician before. And then I made sure that I familiarized myself with the Asia session. But it wasn't the same because this was a number of years ago and Asia was not what it is today. Can you explain what is NYMEX? New York Energies Exchange, effectively. Can't remember what it stands for at this time of the morning. But yeah, it used to be the old pit for the energies markets, crude oil pit. And they run from 2 p.m., which is, God, me and my time zones. Okay, so let's see. 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. And then they run until 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So that was the old pit close, which we call settlement now. And then that's 1:30 Central, so wherever you are. It is. Where are my lights? They're in England. I'm in Serbia right now visiting mom. So I only have one light here. Yeah, gold flew. Anne-Marie says gold flew through the call wall like it wasn't even there. Pure bananas. Yeah, that's why I'm a bit surprised that it says it's positive gamma. It's like it should be, surely it should be negative gamma. I don't know. Tom says, I used to trade Globex until noon, New York. Quit doing that nonsense. I like my sleep too much these days. No need to trade that long. Yeah. Especially once you get to a certain age, like us, Tom, because I think we're not too dissimilar in age. You need your sleep, man. You really need your sleep. You're like, So yeah, gold today is so far in a regular day where we tried to go higher, above Asia high. We also have ADR high in this area, so sometimes when Asia is pretty lively like today, they do hit ADR and they roll all the way through to the other side of the Asia range, and then NYMEX comes and they just continue higher. So that's kind of the setup that I'm aiming for. Where I'm going to do that, I don't know, but VWAP tends to be a pretty decent area. Usually it started behaving like NQ, where it kind of overshoots VWAP and then reclaims it. So I actually really like waiting until I see that the buyers are really kind of stepping in on gold and then eventually reclaiming VWAP. So that's kind of like the price action and tape. Yes, that's right. New York Mercantile Exchange. Thank you. I didn't know that, but it's yeah, it's been a long day yesterday. Yeah, Tom says just turned 47. Yeah, I'll be 45 in December. It's not too old, you know. We're not too old. Like my sister says, we're vintage. We're not old. We're vintage. I did think that I think my brain is slowing down though, and my risk appetite has definitely slowed down a lot, because I was crazy when I was a young person. I was like in a prop firm, and they were like, yeah, all right, so you've done quite well over the last 4 months. Now trade 120 lots on gold. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that, no problem. And you know, if somebody put me in that position now, first of all, I'd be very stressed out, and second of all, I don't know, I'm just not comfortable trading with that much size anymore. I don't know whether it's because I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades, and unless the account is absolutely massive, I would prefer to just use like 0.3% per position size, like whatever that is in relation to the balance, rather than, you know, 4, 5, 10%. And yet, as a kid, when I was younger, it was like, oh, I've got 10K to play with. Oh, I'll risk 3K on one position. Really. Do I think gold retraces back towards 40.15? Seems like some fair value gaps. I don't really know anything about fair value gaps. I can tell you profile and stuff, and you know, I see the same chart as you. So the only thing that would make me think that there is a chance of retracing down to 40.30, because that's where GEX 2 and 3 are, if I remember correctly. Let me double check that. Yeah, so between 40.30 and 40.25 is what I will be looking at. But yeah, all the way to 40.15, I think we would probably need a catalyst to do that. So if we have a speech, maybe FOMC minutes bring a little bit more. But it's not the Fed rate decision, right? It's just the minutes, and they'll just mainly be repeating whatever they said last time, right? So, yeah. Dr. Dak says, miss your CL analysis. Please come back on regular NY hours on Topstep. That's not really up to me. To be honest, I didn't really enjoy the fast markets. I really didn't, because they stare at NASDAQ all the time. And then when I was on, they would be like, Dee, what do you think about NASDAQ? And I was like, I don't know, don't care, but I had to do it. And then my attention would be split between looking at the product that I don't really trade. I only traded NASDAQ really during power hour. I was more like an end of day trader in equities always, if I do trade them. But my main products were energies markets, and yet nobody really seems to be too interested in that. For fast markets, they're also obsessed with NASDAQ, right? So it's not really a good fit, I don't think. I think maybe when we were just starting Topstep TV, and when we all had just our own accounts, rather than focusing on what the live accounts should be doing, that made more sense. But yeah, it's don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I pop in there every so often. I just don't really want to be doing that all the time because I don't want to look at NASDAQ, you know, I really don't. And they're like, Dee, what should we do with the live account? And what should the house account trade? And they trade ES, gold, and NASDAQ. And that's, you know, I stopped trading crude oil. I trade RBOB. I don't know whether they even have RBOB on the live, or crude oil even. They have gold now, I know that. But, you know, I don't know. It's just, I don't think it's a good fit. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just do my own thing. All right, so RBOB is just in this previous strong volume candle. So that was the one that started at 7 a.m. England. It's probably going to tag the gamma wall. So crude oil is trying to tag gamma wall. So let's see what happens there. And then we can try and run another short in RBOB. I'm not doing longs in RBOB. So we're going to see how this looks towards the end of the stream, because it's too early now. They're just literally chopping in a range. So that's what it is. Trading Nickel says, angry from grief from a family loss, wondering if my trading will be impacted. Yeah, so it will be. So I lost my father about 4 years ago, almost. And even though we weren't super close, it still affected me because it was my father, right? So I didn't trade for 2 months, and that was just about enough time. Just about enough time to try and get my feelings in order. So yeah. Right. I wish you advocated bringing DAX to futures and Topstep more viciously. Dude, I couldn't have done it more viciously. I think MP was having nightmares from me going, DAX, DAX, DAX. When's DAX coming? When's DAX coming? I want to trade DAX. I want to trade DAX. Trust me, I tried, man. I really tried. But the only thing I kept coming back with, they kept coming back with, oh, we're having trouble with the conversion from euro per tick into the USD dashboard. So I don't know why that was such a big deal, and they obviously had other priorities, so we just weren't a priority for that particular purpose, which is okay, you know. They were also building a brand new platform. Keep that in mind. And I know that they promised, and I know that we didn't make good on that promise, but I did try. You know, I was mentioning DAX every single day. I asked everybody to vote for it. Apparently, almost 300 votes wasn't enough. So they focused on the features that had, I think the ones that had like 1,000 votes rather than our little DAX. So again, not enough people voted. We really tried, but didn't work. Like if you see all of my streams from last year for like 8 months into it, who's doing what? I'm starting the stream with vote for DAX. Let's get DAX into Topstep. Let's get DAX. Because obviously I also got my show, which is when I was supposed to trade DAX. And now, you know, there is a little bit of a problem there for me as well, because since I'm doing gold and everything, I can't even look at DAX. So, you know, and then I can't even trade it because obviously it's not here. So I had to focus on something else. But it was a big learning experience for me as well, because I was like, I never really traded London much apart from DAX. So I wanted to learn how some of these instruments move. Most of them don't, let's face it. But gold started looking like it's a viable product. And then I realized that 70% of the days, it actually still goes into a complete sideways movement. I mean, look at it. We're doing the same thing now. It's like 70% of the days gold is not going to move for this time period. They wait for London Metal Exchange, and then it starts to liven up, but it's still not bonkers, right? So it's very tradable. And then after that, you get COMEX, and then, you know, the real push comes. So, yeah. There was a high resistance to voting. It wanted me to set up another login with Topstep. I just used my Google account, and that was okay. So, obviously I voted on a few things in there as well. And Google account, they don't bother you or anything. It was just literally to log into what's effectively a little forum for posting. But I can understand how people would see that as a resistance because, yeah, you needed another login suddenly. And yeah, that didn't make much sense either to, already be logged into Topstep, but then you have to use another account. So, yeah. Shay Hughes says, I have a feeling DAX might be a good middle ground between ES and NQ. It really is. It's smoother, but it moves quite a bit. And Dr. Dax also says, DAX and FTSE move so nice in this time window. I miss DAX from my Forex days. Yeah, I mean, there are certain, like obviously I'm not going to talk about other firms or anything, but there are a couple of options out there where they do have DAX, but you have to sign up for Trader Rate and then pay extra for the Eurex data. And then you can trade it, like proper futures. But yeah, one of those has gone a little bit weird, but we've got a new one who they are reputable, and I'm just going to say they have straight to funded. So not going to mention the name, but yeah, if you want that, there are still options, which again pains me because it's like, why are we letting other firms have this, and we're effectively losing clients because we don't have a product that Europeans want to trade. But and I made that point as well. Like I said, I was probably an MP's nightmares going DAX. Oh, dare you say DAX again? But yeah, and even the other day, somebody mentioned on the main broadcast when MP was talking about the new OCOs and whatever, and people are like, "When's DAX coming?" He was like, oh, "Yes, we're working on it. We're working on it." So he knows. But they've had trouble with it, so I can kind of understand. Trading Nickel says to Dr. Dax, I may miss it from my post-Forex days where I think I was trading in Forex-like places, CFDs. Yeah. CFDs are... I don't like CFDs. They are partially regulated. Like on paper, you're like, oh yeah, these are regulated products. And then you realize they don't have specs. Like every single broker has another version of what they want to do. And I ran away from CFDs in I think last time I traded a CFD account was 2017. I was already in futures, obviously, but there was still like a little bit of Forex movement, especially in like GBP and New Zealand. I used to love that pair. And then that died too. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stick to my futures. It's much safer. Trading Nichols is asking whether it trades so smooth because of the limited access to the market, like BTC. There's no limited access to the market elsewhere. Like if you are in a normal account anywhere, like let's say you have an AMP account, you just pay a little bit of extra cash and you get, and I think for non-professionals, it's like $3 or something to get Eurex data. It's really not extortionate. Obviously, because I've got Series 3, I have to pay professional fees. But yeah, if you're not in that situation and you don't have any FINRA qualifications, yeah, it's very accessible. It's not really true. I think in the prop world of futures, it's considered non-accessible. But like I said, even there, you have a couple of options to get it at an extra cost, because obviously it's a separate data feed. So I know the Trader Rate Eurex data is $41 or something. Is it 41? No, that's depth of market for CME, I think. No, actually, I think it's cheaper. I think it's like 20, 25, $26 or something. Like it's really, really not extortionate. But yeah, you can kind of add that on. And because most people now have both, like, you have Trader Rate and Ninja is basically the same company now. So yeah. But you know, I can understand why they would have issues. If you're trying to make everything from scratch, which is what we're trying to do here, you have to do all of the implementation of every single part on the back end in order to make it all work correctly. So, you know, and then there were people who were like, we want OCOs, we want this, we want that. And obviously, what are you going to work on first? A whole bunch of people who want OCOs or D1's DAX. Like, let's get DAX. Obviously, you're going to work on the OCOs first. Yeah. So there are certain priorities that we have to consider in this situation. Yeah. Trade Nickel says you have to avoid tons of tons who make CFDs available. I think all of them at this point. All of them. I love OCOs. Yeah. I haven't gone back to position brackets since the OCOs came in. They are super nice. Just the fact that I can click down here and have all of my preset risk intakes as well. Intakes. That's just beautiful. What's the time? So we've got another half an hour. Okay, so let's see this. There's a big volume candle in crude oil now, so that tends to establish another range usually, and we can see whether we can see how prices behave around it. So we'll have the end of this candle in about 3 minutes time. So. Is OCO different than a bracket? So yeah, you have position brackets. So if you go to the risk setting and you say switch to position brackets, so if you switch to position brackets, you'll get the old drag stop losses to and take profits to like adjust what it is. But also you can set the position bracket throughout all of the products to be the same dollar amount. And I didn't like that because to me, the way I scale my stops, they are based on the volatility of the product, which is not necessarily always going to be the same dollar amount. So it was kind of messing with me a little bit. As soon as they brought OCO brackets, I was like, yes. So now I don't even think about position brackets. I'm just like, abs. How would someone balance all these data fees if they are starting out with props? What is the sweet spot? Well, you know, my data fees are about like $400 or $500 a month because I want to have NYMEX, want to have COMEX. I do not want to have CME, but they provide it for me. And then I also want to have CBOE because occasionally I trade YM. I don't trade NQ, but I will get involved in YM sometimes. So that's a little expensive. But yeah, if you want everything, obviously that's going to be a cost. And if you don't have any professional qualifications for the same side of things like XFAs and stuff, they are not really going to charge you for it. But once you're in the live account, you have to pay professional fees. It's just how it is. And if you trade multiple products, yeah, the fees are $124 per each separate data feed. So it's just cost of sales. You know, I look at it that way. And if you're serious about, you know, doing this and all right, so we've come to the end of it. Definite high volume candle on CL. Why did that not come back? Oh, I know why. Okay. And yeah, so I'm going to try another short here on RBOB because it's in a better situation as well. And let's see how we behave. So what I'm going to do, this is something that I used to do on crude oil. So whenever we get a high volume candle, I like to mark it off. And then if we're still trading inside it, it means that the high volume has set the new range. Very frequently, if the moves are not, like for example, if this was gold, I'll be looking for the top to be broken and then continue higher. But on energy products, like I said, I'm a permanent bear, sometimes to my own detriment. But most other times, I am correct on that because, you know, if you don't have extra demand, if you don't have wars, you know, active shutdowns of oil refineries, at some point energy markets will retrace back down. So yeah, let's see how the price behaves around here. I'm using crude oil, try to trade RBOB instead. Again, a little bit too early still, but we are on a combine, so I can click a few more buttons than I normally would, just to get a bit more action. Obviously, if I'm in a live account, I can't do that. I have to be super selective because there's no reset. And over there, you have to behave. Oh, Paul has joined us. Good morning, Paul. How are you doing? Now this is where I'm going to make use of the MAE because my full position on RBOB whenever I'm doing anything is actually three lots because it's a smaller market. It only costs $4.20, $4.20, which I find very funny. But generally it's a smaller, you know, tick value. So Shay says, I just started using bracket orders. I felt like a wizard. Yeah, I love brackets. I love OCO brackets. They're awesome. Straight Nickel says, I actually can't see why to ever have my Series 3 to get the additional charges. Yeah, you don't need it unless you're in a position where the firm actually requests it. Sometimes prop firms will have a mix of, how would I say it? A mix of investor funds as company prop capital. And that means because you're effectively trading other people's money, because they're investors in a prop firm, that immediately means that every single person working there has to have the basic qualification. And otherwise, if you're just an independent person, you're just sitting at home and this is your, you know, you're not public facing, you're not deciding to give out your levels as investment advice. That would be another gray area where a lot of people are like, get my levels, sign up for my Discord. And they're not a CTA. They don't even have a Series 3. That's very dodgy. But because they're flying under the radar, that's like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. I don't know what's going to happen if you know, prop space gets properly regulated. That's going to be a very different thing. Dr. Dax says, there's no way you can trade without brackets in instruments like NQ and not feel the heat right away. It's a must. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they sort of had a bracket, position bracket, just not quite, it wasn't easily interchangeable to like another setting. Because, you know, for example, I use 70 ticks stop on gold, but I use 36 on copper. Then I use middle ground on RBOB. Sometimes I will use 45, other times I will use 65. Like, for example, now I'm talking, so obviously I will use a 65. But if I can like really be concentrating and, you know, swipe it from the very high, then I don't really use more than 45. But it will depend on the setup. Like this is more of a range-bound setup. So I'm basically trying to use the range in order to go into a mean reversion setup back towards value high. And I don't need to be super accurate for that. I just need to make sure I'm on the right side. And then what I'm going to do, I'm basically going to try and run it all the way to the other side of value because that is the nature of the energies markets. You think you get to the value area and it just throws up like in like pukes all the way through the value completely. How many trades do I take on average per day? 1 to 3. If I manage to swipe, like let's say yesterday, I was stalking a gold trade during COMEX and I managed to get in at a pretty good price. I think it was 3,987. Maybe it was like 3,987.3 or something. And then I held it all the way to just below 40.10. But with commissions and everything, I took it off, I think my final target was 40.10, but I ended up taking it around 4007, maybe 48. I don't know. I would have to have a look at the thing is, but it was basically 193 ticks. I don't like talking in dollars because it's not scalable. But yeah, it was 193 ticks all in, and then you have commissions. So that's the kind of trades that I like to take. Just huge profit margin inherently in the setup, and you just try and hold it for as many ticks as it will give you. But you have to be super selective for that. So I'm not a scalper. I do not grab 10 ticks. I think it's an utter waste of time and energy and eyes. And yeah, after a while, you just start to realize that the commissions are eating into a lot of your profits. And I didn't like that. I never liked that. I was a swing trader, then went into prop intraday, then tried to, do their scalping and stuff, and I didn't like it. So I blended what I was doing as a swing trader and managed to find concepts like in market profile. Then I made up my own sort of version of average session range. And time of day is a massive component in what I do because there's an observation and a pattern that repeats like on more than 70% of the days, especially in something like the energies markets. And then I just basically use that. On DAX, for example, usually for this time of the day, you'll find that on a lot of the days, they like to do a little reversal. So that's also something that I learned when I started trading for a London firm, and they were sort of owned by First New York. They were like some weird like branch of it or something. Yeah, so we already had the London reversal with a continuation, but then usually as this time of the day comes, I am looking to fade the DAX, usually with the trend. Today it's just going up, so that means I need to stay out of the pullback and then try and go long, but I don't have a setup in DAX today. So yeah, I'm super selective, and when I'm in my live account, I'm in a non-approved country for travel, so I can't trade my live. But yeah, I'm super, super selective. Literally, like, as fewer trades, the better. If I manage to get a big trade on the first attempt, and it gets to like 2.5, 3, 4 R multiples, it's not every day. It's not every day. That would be the only trade that I take for the day, and then I immediately shut everything down. I mean, what else do I want? I grab like almost 200 ticks from a single trade. It's like, how greedy can you be, man? But yeah, okay, let's scale into this. Why? Because it's starting to show signs that that volume shelf that we created with this candle is not going higher for the moment, and we are looking for some kind of a rotation on crude oil, but using RBOB to express our position there. Yeah, Eddie Trade says, yes, you're right. DAX loves to take Asia high low and then goes the other way. Yeah, it is one of my favorite setups, and if I am awake that early, but usually I'm not awake for the Asia high low takeout because it's like Eurex or London Open. And then once I sit down, I had my coffee. I'm not much of a morning person anyways, never have been. I was a musician for 20 years before I went into finance. Then I'm kind of looking to just kind of grab whatever rotation might be, and if there's like a failed auction at that point, so return to the first hour of trading for London, that becomes my trade. If I don't have anything there, I will then see if I can run maybe some kind of a trade from VWAP as a continuation trade. And if it's a neutral day type, that'll be a day where I will do maybe 5, 6, 7 trades, because it's a range day, right? So you don't have any, you don't have much prospect of running a swing trade on a neutral day, balanced day. So what do? Well, you have to still be selective with setups, but you will trade more because the profit will be less. You have a range. So what do? Well, you expect it to go smash the high or the low, go back to the mean, which is the middle of the entire the middle of the entire session range for the day. And then you do it all over again. So you don't run a full rotation, or I don't run a full rotation, but I take the return to the mean, the middle, as my target on range days. And that's why I would trade typically 4, 5, 6 trades. But I trade multiple products as well. So sometimes it will be, quiet across the board. So I will maybe swipe 20 ticks in copper. Then I will move on to RBOB. Then I will get like my euro close reversal there. So maybe swipe again 1R, which is 65, 70 ticks. Then I will go to something else towards the end of the day. And on those days, I do trade equities as well. So I get to power hour, so last hour of the day for the New York session. And I'm like, okay, let's see if there's another couple of trades here. So those will be the days where I will be more scalpy. But on all other days, like if you have something like gold, I'm not scalping gold. Why? It brings me like, 150, 200 ticks in one trade. Why would I lose my eyes when all it takes is just a little bit of selectivity and patience to get the correct trade location for that sort of a trade? But if you're looking for the bigger trades, you can't just see a scalp trade and then decide halfway through that trade to turn it into a swing. It's like, oh, I wanted 30, but now I want 300. That's never going to work because the information is not there, and it's very likely that your stop sizes are not quite large enough or sufficient enough to absorb the craziness that, let's say, gold can bring you. So then you're in a scalp position, and your stop loss is cutting through candles, which immediately means it's not a strong sort of swing type trade. For swing trades that can last, that have like legs, you have to look at the market structure. And then, like, let's use crude oil because it's less messy. If you want to run a short here, you would really have to make sure that your stops are above this established high, because that's where the structure is, right? And yet most scalpers will basically try to run a quick scalp, and then they put the stops into the wicks or into the candles. That's terrible, right? That means that the position is not meant to be there for 2 hours. So you have to just grab whatever you can, and that's it. Deke says, sorry, Dee, no, he said, but is your target for RBOB NYMEX value area high? So whenever I put my big targets down here, they are just in case someone says something and then the market drops in a blink of an eye. Because before, I would be super conservative with my targets, and I would be like, I'll just get my 2R, that's fine. But then what we had during tariffs is that a lot of the times Trump would just say something, and like the crude oil would just drop, like literally in 3.5 seconds. You wouldn't be able to react. So I always start with my targets that are a little bit more ambitious than what I actually plan with them. I have 3 areas of interest on RBOB, so I will tell you all 3. The first one is settlement. No, sorry, that's crude oil. The first one is value high at 189.85. The second one would actually be closer to point of control at 189.22. And then if it just continues to go all the way down to where the 30-minute demand is located as well, then I will run it all the way to the other side of the value, which is value low. So that's my ultimate target. And all of that is still well within the day's range. So we'll see. And I will remind you, I'm a permanent bear, so I don't care much for longs on energies, because I'm just like, I ain't longing. You know how you have people in equities, buy the dip, buy the effing dip. Well, I'm like, sell the effing rally for energies. I'm a perma bear. So I think I will only do like a long trade in crude oil or RBOB if we are close to settlement. Maybe it's a range bound day and they are kind of still holding the lows without doing the stop run in reverse situation for the end of the day. Then I will be like, yeah, let's grab a few ticks there on the long side. But other than that, if it's this early and we're just coming into pre-market, I'm like, let's sell this thing. Any excuse to sell it. Tom says, T3 Metric says, don't get the attraction to scalping. So much easier to wait for a single trade that runs 100, 200 ticks. Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah. You should be up for London and Asia after hours. No. Here's the thing. Markets trade 23 hours a day. Why would I sacrifice my sleep to stay up all night when I've got stuff to do in the day? I've got 8 dogs as well. Just to grab 100 ticks, 200 ticks that I can also grab during COMEX. It's the same number of ticks. Yeah, and I get to actually have my brain and my mental capital. You people who are super obsessed with trading 23, 24 hours, 12 hours a day, you're not doing yourself any favors. You need your brain. You're not going to be making good trading decisions because you stayed up all night and then you're trying to trade through 3 different sessions. You just won't. Because when you have lack of sleep, it's literally like being drunk. So how do you trade after a few drinks? Probably not that well. You go full muppet, right? Same thing with lack of sleep. If you are super tired, your focus is not there, you don't even know what you're doing anymore, right? Sleep is important. The older you get, take it from Granny D, I don't know how old you are, but you know, if you are over 40, it really starts to affect you and you just turn into a useless person. And you know, there are other things. We trade to live. We don't live to trade. Okay? Trading is not another prison of 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, whatever you make it. Trading is something where you can make money in 10 minutes more than you would in a real 9 to 5. So isn't that the bigger appeal, rather than you creating yet another prison where you're like, T, you should be up for after hour Asia, and yet on a lot of the days I have to be on the main broadcast, or we have a meeting at like my 7, 8, 9, 10 p.m. So am I supposed to stay awake for 16 hours then, just to catch the Asia hours? And yet it's the same 200 ticks. It's like, that doesn't make much sense to me. I'm sorry. And remember, I've been doing this for 18 years. If I had that sort of mentality, I would not be here even after like 5 years, because I would burn myself out and I would be doing something completely different. I enjoy trading. I want to enjoy trading, regardless of whether I'm up or down on the day. I don't look at it that way. I look at longer time periods. How did I do over a month? And, you know, me sacrificing, you know, sleep for that purpose and trying to have a career that lasts for a really long time, hopefully I will still be doing this even when I have 30 and 40 years experience. I'll be like, Granny D, let's trade corn. I'm probably going to be trading something super slow then. Yeah. Shay's asked me, would I trade the overnights if I were a newbie? No. The only time I trade overnight is if I see there's an FOMC rate decision and we have a huge down day as a result, I will then stay up to trade Nikkei longs as a mean reversion back up. That's like maybe twice a year. That would happen. That would be like my version of a party. It's like, let's stay up, let's trade Nikkei. Yeah, Shay says, the sleep thing is real. I drive a truck all day and then come home and forget where I went. Exactly. Yeah. Lenka says, twice in my life I've had a baby and haven't slept even 4 hours for about a year and a half. Oh my God, that's difficult. It completely changes a person's personality. Resistance to anxiety, panic, overthinking. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our 8 dogs, like, for example, we have an old dog, Lenny, he's 13 now, and he's with my husband. Obviously, he stays with them whenever I come over for these short trips to see mom. And yes, we have doggy daycare, and yes, we have a beautiful private field that's like 1 minute down the road from our house, and we have a big garden as well if we want to just let them out. But Lenny is old. So Lenny is 13 years old now, and he's got a pretty serious heart condition. He also has this benign growth on his chest that every so often just decides to bleed for no reason. And it hadn't happened for like 3-4 years, but literally yesterday night, so not like this overnight, but the previous night, I'm asleep, right? And my phone is ringing. It's my husband. It's like, Lenny's thing on his chest has burst. I don't know if it's going to get infected or anything. So I was like half asleep and just going, yeah, I think we have some, you should probably give him antibiotics. We have some in this box and that box. And then I stayed up worrying. I was like, oh my God, is he going to be okay? Is his heart okay? Is he really irked now about this? And I didn't really get much sleep. So yesterday was a really long day for me because it was my mom's birthday. And I just didn't get, I think I maybe got 4 or 5 hours sleep. So that's why I'm a little bit loopy today. But yeah, it was worrying, right? And you want them to be well, but at the same time, I know that he probably doesn't have, a full year with us. If we get another few months with him, it would be amazing. And it's going to be a tough year. So you're almost in a situation where if something's wrong with him, you don't want to sleep just in case it happens. And that will, that will affect you really badly. Brooksy says, Brooksy lad, I love your name. So true, I'm in the UK, D, and I trade our time between 6 a.m. and 12 noon, and I'm done. Work-life balance is super important to your mental health, yeah. Heading trades, dogs are just like little kids, yeah. 2- and 3-year-old kids. They will do stupid things, and you always have to make sure you watch them, yeah. Hopeline is recovering away, yeah. 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 Analyze your trades by time, like Dee says, time of day is a level also. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's all right. Like his heart condition is managed, right? It's just this stupid thing that he's had since he's been like 2 years old. It's a benign tumor, and it doesn't really cause much trouble. But every time it rubs up against something, it kind of explodes. It's a bit weird. But we've taken him to the vet like several times, and they've done biopsies, and nothing ever came back as a malignant, dangerous thing. So he's fine. He'll be all right. But at the same time, he is 13, so we managed to get him to like a normal lifespan for a dog, and there's nothing else. Like, he's had a beautiful life, you know. He's traveled all over Europe. He's been to Scotland. He's been to, no, he hasn't been to Scotland. That was Minton. But he's been to Spain several times. He's been to France, like all over the UK. He's been in like all the UK forests and stuff. He's had his own private pool. You know, he likes swimming. He's a water baby. He's been going to doggy daycare with friends and stuff loads of times. He got to have a wife and kids, so because our Pomeranian, she's the mom. And you know, when he goes, we have 6 of his children, and each of them reminds me of him. So even when he goes, it'll be very sad. I'm sure I'm going to be coming on these streams, and people will be asking me. I'll be like crying my eyes out, because that's what I do. I cry for animals. I'm stronger with humans. Like, I can kind of lose humans and not completely lose the plot, but with animals, oh my God, I just break down so pathetically. It's not even funny. I remember when we lost our Mint, and I was trying to do like weekly strategy videos, and I was like, yes, so let's do this thing. And people are like, hey, how's Minton? Because I know that, you know, he's not doing very well. And he was old as well. He was almost 16 when he died. But it was more traumatic. And then I was like, yes, we lost him. And I work with a lot of doctor traders, because a lot of doctors are interested in going into trading as well. So they were like, well, what happened? And so I was explaining, and I go, no, his liver failed. And I literally just broke down in tears. So yes, I was the person who cries on the internet for her dog. And that will happen again. And I will not be sorry about that at all. So yeah. It is the worst part of being a dog owner, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Right, we've got 3 more minutes. As expected, this has not moved yet. Just you wait. As soon as I finish the stream, it's going to be like, it's going to throw up. Let's have a look. Lots of fewer friends over the years, doesn't get easier. These are my last 2. Hats off to you for holding so many. Super admirable. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy, because they're all the same age as well. So we have Lisbon, she's 6, but all of her kids are like, they'll be 4 in November, end of November. And my mom was quite funny, because when we decided to keep everybody, because we were told we were going to have 2 puppies, and it was kind of post-COVID, and you couldn't really go looking for people. And I didn't want to sell them either. I didn't get puppies to sell them. I just really wanted a bunch of dogs. And I went to every rescue, every single rescue. I found Lisbon, and then I was like, okay, let's just adopt a whole bunch of them. And they wouldn't let me. They were like, do you have children under 12? I said, no, no children. Are you at home all day? Yes. Do you have a secure garden? Yes. Nearly 7-foot fence with a shed down the end, and literally, like, unless you get some super crazy collie or a Malinois, it's not jumping over that, right? Like, everything was fine. Do you have another dog? We have 2. Are they neutered? Well, one of them is, the other one's super young. So they're like, okay. And we always do chemical neutering on our males. For some reason, they just decided that that wasn't the right thing. So I'm like, well, okay. Literally, I must have spoken to like 16 different rescue centers. Okay, I get the ones that have a problem with other dogs. They obviously can't live with us who always had other dogs. But what about the ones that need a doggy companion? I was like, yeah, come over. Like, have a party. It's cool. No, apparently not good enough for rescues. So, and then we decided to let Lenny's neutering injection lapse. And then once that was clearly gone, and his little plums came back, we let them breed. And we were told, don't worry, Pomeranians only have like 2 or 3 dogs. And I'm like, okay, I could do like deal with 4 or 5 dogs. And then on the day 6 came out, and we couldn't give them away. We were naming them as they were coming out. We were like, well, that's Bernard. Oh, that's definitely 7. Oh, who's this? Oh, well, that's got to be Crichton, right? And so now we're a crazy house of eight dogs. Yeah. We love it. All right, so we're coming up to 11. Still no, this is not moving, but I am getting the right signal that I wanted from crude oil. So basically to stay confined in this big volume candle, which is the largest volume candle at the moment, it's probably going to take another hour before this actually makes up its mind where it's going to go. And then we might get the trade that we're doing. Now, this is a combine. I don't know whether I want to sit here and babysit this, so it's very likely I'm just going to maybe wait for a little bit of a drop and then kill it. Yeah, so tomorrow I will still be here. On Friday, you will see me on the reversal challenge. I'm actually traveling home early in the morning, so I should be back in the UK probably by the afternoon. And then you will see me in the all-female reversal challenge for the end of the day on Power Hour. And it would be nice to see everybody and to finish the Friday messing around in the reversal challenge a little bit. But anyways, that's all from me for Wednesday. Watch out for the inventories. They are coming out later on today. They will affect RBOB and crude oil and heating oil. Ideally, you don't want to hold the position straight into it. On crude oil, inventories tends to be a storm in the teacup, and it ends up in like a neutral day on a lot of the days that are statistically relevant. So yeah, let's see what they want to do. I'm expecting a bit of the unwind towards that number. If I'm still by some chance in this position, I will be taking it off wherever it is into the inventories. That's all I have for you today. This was the Euro Trade. I'm Marcus Sokadi. Trade safe, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.